So just amazing declarations, really, of war against the people. And this 3rd Brigade is the cream of the Army from Fallujah, from areas of Baghdad, where, as you just said, where they locked people down. So they have done the raids in homes, the gun confiscations. They are bringing the cream as the cadre to train the other brigades. Please comment on that.
Well, I'm not sure what to say about it that you haven't said. It's very frightening. Another thing, though, I want to throw in there is that since at least September 14th, 2001, a few days after the so-called 9/11 terrorist attack, the United States has been under a state of national emergency, which allows the federal government to put into place these continuity of government provisions, which allow for for martial law to be instituted. Now, the last time that state of national emergency was reinstituted was on August 28th of 2008. I have heard nothing that indicates to me, and I keep looking for it and I keep asking about it, that state of emergency has been rescinded by President Obama. As far as I know, this country is now in its, well, I guess it's still the 7th year, but getting close to the 8th year of a continually reinstituted on an annual basis state of national emergency. The Congress is when a state of national emergency is declared under United States law, Congress is supposed to reconsider that state of emergency on a 6-month basis and either rescind it or continue it. That has never occurred, and we're talking about now, 7 or 8 years. So for people to believe that this country is operating in a democratic framework when we're under a state of emergency with continuity of government procedures in effect and brigades of the Northern Command within the continental United States with posse comitatus basically having been, thrown out the window with a continuation of rendition and, all the rest of this stuff, I don't know what people are smoking, but it's, they should start to, to wake up and smell the reality of what we're dealing with here.
Congressman, I'm always impressed by how informed you are. Probably next to Ron Paul, you're about the only person I get on air who is always aware of every point I bring up, every news article I bring up, because I'm constantly trying to keep track 3-4 hours a day, and I don't find half the stuff. I find it later, and I'm always angry because so much bad is happening. People think I'm putting a bad face on things. No, it's far worse than I always predict looking at the evidence than it turns out it really was. That said, did you see the article where one of the former Fed governors told Bloomberg that other Fed members he knows that are on the Board of Governors now are calling the New York Fed and the private Federal Reserve Board and saying, let us know what's happening with the bailout. And they tell them, War Powers Act has been enacted. We are under martial law, and so we don't even have to tell you that. And then that dovetails with Congressman Sherman and others we've interviewed here and Senator Inhofe on record saying that they were threatened with physical martial law on October 1st, 2nd, and 3rd if they didn't pass the bailout. So clearly, with that national emergency, integrated with the John Warner Defense Authorization Act, PDD 51, enemy combatant designations, the Military Commissions Act, with all of this nexusing in, we are under the military dictatorship of Northcom. There's no other way to cut it.
No, and it's in direct violation of statutes that have been part of this country for 200 years. But unfortunately, the great majority of our population is blissfully unaware. And what we need is a huge number of Paul Reveres out there riding around, saying that the fascists have come and they have alighted in our cities and our towns, and they are robbing this country of whatever hope of liberty that we ever hope to exercise as citizens. And I just hope there's more programs like yours out there, and that that people will start to wake up, because, as one of our great patriots said, eternal vigilance is the price of liberty. And without an informed public, democracy is dead.
Well, I agree with you. And Congressman, in the last few minutes we have with you, let's put the cherry on top here. We're under the War Powers Act. We're under Northcom. Previously, they would have a CENTCOM. They would have a Southcom. They would have areas that were under the military control in the empire. And now we have Northcom over the heart of the empire, the homeland. I mean, look at all these terms. Look at the nomenclature. This is a long strategic program. We know these FEMA camps didn't just pop up this week as they're saying, oh, for the economic emergency. They've been slowly preparing for this for decades with the shadow government, the parallel government, the national security government, the national security dictatorship that Peter Dale Scott talks so much about. Isn't Obama the cherry on top, the messianic leader? We're in a crisis. This unpopular president has left. He comes in. He's slick. He loves us. He cares. But he needs dictatorial power. They're putting up billboards. They're running government PSAs about him like he's God, saying join his USA service.org. That's a private group under him, like Mao. I mean, I couldn't dream up a worse scenario. I couldn't dream up something more horrible. I mean, it looks like he's the guy, the fresh horse they're putting into the race that is going to drag us right into the worldwide dictatorship.
Well, who could do it better? It would have to be somebody who met the qualifications the way that Barack Obama does. And again, I think anyone with a critical mind has to ask themselves, where did this man come from? As wonderful as he appears, and intelligent and all the rest, you don't go from the Illinois State Senate to the President of the United States unless you've got some very extraordinary backing. And there was somewhere along the line in the Barack Obama story, and again, I go back to this Business International Corporation, which is where Obama went after Columbia, which, you can look it up in Wikipedia and they'll tell you it's the CIA front. There was some point at which Obama was recruited and trained to be a certain type of political figure. And I'm not saying that when they trained him, back, when he had just finished undergraduate school, before he went to Harvard, that they knew that he would be this person. I think the CIA recruits and trains scores, if not hundreds, of young people for these types of jobs, and they don't know exactly who is the one who's going to emerge. But I think
they've got a pool of candidates. Bill Clinton was recruited by the British CIA section chief, who now, from our own research, ran the Kennedy assassination. And that's now declassified. So we know Clinton and Hillary were both CIA. It's funny you bring that up. I didn't know this till about a week ago. Did you know that Obama's first job after college was with Henry Kissinger at Kissinger and Associates? That's above CIA. I mean, this is the guy who's kind of the gopher for the ultra elite over every major president since Richard Nixon. I mean, can you specifically? I mean, is that a good thing on Obama's resume that the uber gopher of the globalist was his handler out of college?
Well, no, but it tells you a lot about who Barack Obama is. And we saw the confirmation of that when Obama became president, and we watched him, our president-elect, and we watched him pick the people who would surround him in his cabinet. And, a lot of people said, well, he's just got the old LBJ strategy of, it's better to have them all inside the tent than outside the tent. But, there's just too many globalists, too many corporatists, too many imperialists in that cabinet to make you believe. I mean, you just have to be a Pollyanna to believe that this is going to end well.
Congressman, give out your website for folks that want to visit.
It's voiceoftheenvironment.org.
Voiceoftheenvironment.org. We'll put that up on the television screen for folks. Voiceoftheenvironment.org. In closing, you're still pushing to bring Bush to justice. I mean, that's one of the big things with Obama. He's not saying a peep. In fact, in his speech after he was sworn in, he turned to Bush and thanked him for the great job he'd done, which I thought was thoroughly disgusting after he talked about how evil Bush was and ran on Bush's crimes only to flip-flop and wallow in all of them, and it seems to accelerate them. So your final comments on bringing Bush to justice and how that segues into, isn't that another big test of Obama? Will he do anything to anybody in the Bush administration, or will he protect them?
Well, you know, the question I have is how much political capital will Obama expend to stop an investigation and a prosecution? I mean, we're already seeing the beginnings of that with this whole issue around Karl Rove and Harriet Miers, and we found out that Fred Fielding, when he, and I think it was on January 16th, just before the end of the Bush administration, wrote letters to Karl Rove's attorney and Harriet Miers' attorney, informing them that they had full immunity in perpetuity for any any prosecution for actions they had taken. So it looks as if